He gave her everything: money, a home, a family. And what did she do? She betrayed him in ways most people couldn't imagine. She tore his world apart, tried to steal his son, dragged his name through the dirt, and set him up with lies that could ruin any man. She thought she had won, thought she broke him. But she forgot. He's not the kind of man who goes down without a fight. He built his life from nothing, and now he'll do whatever it takes to protect his son. This isn't a story about love. It's about betrayal, revenge, and what happens when a man has nothing left to lose. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. I never imagined myself as the kind of man who could be played. Not me. I wasn't naive, wasn't spineless, and certainly not the type to sit back while a woman ran circles around me. But life has a way of laughing in a man's face, pushing him to his limits just to see if he'll break or burn everything to the ground before it comes to that. Her name was Sabrina. Blonde, legs that stretched for miles, curves that could send even the holiest of men into sin. And when she looked at me, it was as if I was the only man in existence, the only thing she ever desired. Maybe that's why I let my defenses slip. Maybe that's why I opened a door that should have stayed locked. Our paths first crossed 5 years ago in a dimly lit bar, back when I still had the patience for small talk. She sat there, sipping an overpriced drink, pretending she didn't notice the men prowling around her like wolves scenting prey. But when I walked by, her eyes locked onto mine. Defiant, challenging. I accepted the challenge. It wasn't long before she was mine, or so I believed. We got hitched in Vegas, half drunk, reckless, like all the best mistakes in life. I had money, built my own business, handled things the way a man should. She never wanted for anything. I handed her a home, a car, a life most women would kill for. And for a while, she played the role, sweet, devoted, insatiable. But some women don't know the meaning of enough. Some women look at everything they have and still crave more. The signs were subtle at first. Late nights with friends, a gym membership despite never working out, a new fixation on her phone, always placed face down on the table. I noticed. I wasn't a fool. Then, one evening at dinner, she sat across from me, swirling her wine, wearing that same smirk I first saw the night we met. "I need to tell you something," she said. I leaned back, waiting. "I'll be seeing other men for a while," she stated, casual as anything. No guilt, no hesitation. "We'll still sleep together, of course, but I'll also be with others." I didn't react. Not because I was surprised. I wasn't. I simply stared, deciding what kind of man I was going to be at that moment. She tilted her head, waiting, maybe expecting me to argue, to beg, to ask why. I didn't. I just smiled, slow, measured, the kind of smile that probably made her think I was fine with it. "All right," I said, "if that's what you want." And that was the end of the conversation. She went to bed that night feeling victorious, convinced she had won, certain I had accepted it. She had no idea what was coming. Sabrina didn't just take my love for granted. She treated my entire life like it was hers to dismantle. I wasn't raised with privilege. No silver spoon, no safety net, just blood, sweat, and fists. My old man was a bitter drunk, the kind who blamed his failures on his son. I learned early that fairness was a myth. You either took what was yours or got trampled by men ruthless enough to take it from you. By 16, I was already fighting, bare knuckle, underground, cash in hand by the night's end. It wasn't sport, it was survival. Every punch thrown, every hit landed was a step away from the life I refused to be trapped in. And I didn't lose, not once. That kind of life shapes you, hardens you into something sharp, something indestructible. By my 20s, I had built something out of nothing, my own security firm, catering to the wealthy, shielding them from the kind of men I used to be. Then Sabrina came along. She was different. She didn't shrink when I spoke, didn't retreat when I pushed. She was fire wrapped in silk, and I mistook that fire for passion instead of the destruction it truly was. We married in a blur, one wild night in Vegas, whiskey clouding our judgment, and just like that, she took my name. I never regretted it. Not then. She was mine, and I took care of what was mine. And when our son, Thomas, was born, my world shifted. I wasn't just fighting for myself anymore. I fought for him. Thomas was my blood, my legacy. I taught him strength, resilience, to never let the world break him the way it tried to break me. Every hard-won lesson I passed down to him. I worked myself to the bone to make sure he'd never know the hunger, the fear, the desperation that had shaped me. And then Sabrina set it all on fire. The infidelity was bad enough. But what came after? That was the real betrayal. The night after her confession, she waltzed in late, probably assuming nothing had changed. Her heels clicked against the floor as she stepped inside, expecting to find me waiting like a devoted fool. But the house was empty. Not just of my things, of everything. The furniture, the electronics, the cash from the safe, hell, even the food in the fridge. I took it all. That night, she didn't just lose me. She lost everything I had ever given her. And Thomas? He was already gone. I picked him up from school before she even knew what was happening. She wanted to sleep around? Fine. But not in my home. Not with my money. Not under the same roof as my son. She called me screaming. I let it go to voicemail. The messages started first. Pleas, threats, frantic demands. Nothing changed. Then, the following day, she stormed into my office, fury contorting her features, slamming both palms onto my desk with wild, manic eyes. What the hell did you do? I leaned back, unfazed, watching her unravel. Exactly what you asked for, sweetheart. Her breath caught, nostrils flaring. You said you wanted other men, so I made sure you had all the time in the world to chase them. Her expression darkened, rage boiling just beneath the surface. You took my son, our son, I corrected coldly, and I'm the only one acting like a parent. That was all it took. She lunged at me, nails bared, a wild animal ready to claw and tear. I caught her wrists mid-air, twisting just enough to make her still, a sharp gasp escaping her lips. I don't hit women, I murmured, voice steady, low. But if you try that again, I won't be so gentle. She stilled, breathing hard, something flickering in her gaze. Fear, maybe, or the slow realization that she had lost this fight. I let go. She staggered back, rubbing her wrists, her eyes burning with helpless fury. You can't do this, she spat. I'll take you to court. I smirked. Good luck. I have the best lawyers money can buy. And you? You have nothing. That was it. She had craved her freedom, and now she had it. Empty walls, a silent house, a bed she could share with any man she thought was worth throwing it all away for. Sabrina wasn't stupid. Selfish? Always. A liar? No doubt. But dumb? Never. She knew exactly what she was doing that night, sitting across from me, twirling her wine glass, casually dropping the words that she expected to ignite a fight. She wanted me to react, to argue, to give her the ammunition she needed to paint herself as the victim, to cast me as the villain. Maybe she even hoped to twist me into some sick open marriage arrangement. Instead, I gave her nothing. Just silence. And in return, I took everything. That was when I learned the most dangerous truth about her. She wasn't the kind of woman who accepted defeat. For weeks after I walked away, there was nothing. No texts, no calls, no surprise appearances, just absolute radio silence, as if she had vanished from existence. I should have known better. I should have realized she was planning. Sabrina had always been a master of deception, a woman who knew how to manipulate the game. She had built her life on charm, on seduction, on weaving lies so effortlessly that people mistook them for truth. With other men, she was in control. With me, she had none. And that's why she did it. She hadn't cheated because she was unhappy. She did it to prove something, to herself, to me, to the twisted world she had built inside her head, that no man, not even me, could ever claim her. So when I stripped it all away, I didn't just take her freedom. I shattered the illusion she had spent years crafting. And when an animal is cornered, it does the only thing it can. It strikes. And Sabrina? She struck back, hard. The first hit came quietly, a phone call from my lawyer. "Your accounts," he said, tension thick in his voice. "They've been frozen." I clenched my phone tighter. All of them? Every last one. I didn't need to ask why. I already knew. Sabrina. Before I walked away, I had made sure she had nothing, no access to my money, no ties to my business. I had cut her off completely. But she had been waiting, scheming, laying the groundwork for her revenge long before she ever admitted to her affairs. While I had been running my company, ensuring she never had to lift a damn finger, she had been plotting my downfall. False accusations, meticulously crafted lies, claims of financial abuse, emotional manipulation, and the final, lethal strike, the allegation that I was a danger to our son. When I first heard it, I laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "She can't win this." My lawyer didn't laugh. "She doesn't have to win," he said grimly. "She just has to drag it out long enough to ruin you." And she did. The next blow landed fast. My business, the empire I had built from the ground up, was suddenly under scrutiny. Baseless accusations, lawsuits, clients pulling away, unwilling to be associated with a man accused of domestic violence. Even my most loyal employees, those who had stood by me for years, began to hesitate, to doubt. That's when I realized just how deep her deception ran. She wasn't acting alone. She had help. And not just from any man. She had gone for the one person who could wound me the most. Joseph, my best friend, my right hand. The man I had trusted since my days fighting in the streets. The man I had brought into my company, given him a future. The man who had been fucking my wife behind my back. This wasn't just about infidelity anymore. This was war. And if Sabrina thought she had won, she had no idea what was coming next. I was losing everything. My company, my finances, my name, dragged through the mud by the woman I had once called my wife. But the worst part? The thing that made my blood burn hotter than hell itself? She was coming for my son. Sabrina wasn't satisfied with draining my accounts, dismantling my business, destroying my reputation. No, that wasn't enough. She wanted Thomas. She wanted to rip the last piece of my soul away and watch me bleed. And she wasn't alone. She had Joseph, the man I had called my brother, the man who had sat at my table, held my son, smiled in my face while betraying me, whispering in her ear, helping her orchestrate my destruction. They thought they had won. They had no idea what was coming. The deepest wound wasn't just betrayal. It was a blade so keen I could taste the metal on my tongue. Joseph hadn't only slept with Sabrina. He was now coming for my son. The court summons landed like a sledgehammer. Petition for sole custody. Sabrina and Joseph, united in their treachery, had constructed a narrative that painted me as volatile, a menace unfit to be a father. They stacked the deck with falsified reports, doctored statements, and staged photos of bruises on Sabrina's skin, bruises I had no doubt she had inflicted upon herself to bolster their lie. And Joseph, that two-faced coward, had the audacity to claim he was a better father to Thomas than I had ever been. The fury inside me didn't simmer, it incinerated. I didn't crave revenge, I demanded annihilation. The truth was plain. Playing by their rules meant losing. Sabrina had the system, the fabricated evidence, and Joseph in her corner. So I tossed the rulebook aside and wrote my own. First, they needed a reminder that I wasn't someone who could be erased. And Joseph? He would be the first to learn that lesson. Taking him down was almost too easy. He had grown complacent, secure in the belief that I was too consumed by legal battles to make a move. Same gym, same routine, still carrying himself with that smug air of invincibility. That night, as he strolled into the parking lot alone, I was there, waiting. I wanted him to see me, to watch recognition dawn on his face. When the blood drained from his features, I knew I had already won the first round. "Hey, man," he faltered, raising his hands in a pathetic attempt at defense. "Look, I cut him off with a single, precise punch. My knuckles collided with his jaw, and his head hit the pavement with a sickening thud. He slumped, stunned. But I wasn't done. As he feebly attempted to crawl away, I seized a fistful of his hair and forced him to meet my gaze. "You thought you could take my son." My voice was measured, unshaken. "Steal my wife and just walk away?" His mouth moved, something incoherent slipping from his bloodied lips. I leaned in. "You're going to drop the custody case." His swollen mouth trembled. I can't. It's Sabrina." My grip tightened around his throat, just enough to let him feel the weight of his mistake. "You will drop it," I stated, calm and certain. "And then you'll vanish. Because if I ever see you again, Joseph, a broken jaw will be the least of your worries." I let go, watching as he gasped for breath, coughing and spitting blood onto the pavement. He scrambled to his feet like a cornered animal. "You're insane," he croaked, teeth stained crimson. I smiled. "You have no idea." And with that, Joseph, the traitor who thought he could dismantle my life, became nothing more than a ghost. Sabrina, however, was a different beast. Physical intimidation wouldn't break her. Fear wouldn't undo her. Power would. She thrived on control, on manipulating the pieces of her game board. So I dismantled her world piece by piece. I laid everything bare, the affair, the deception, the forged reports. A team of private investigators unearthed every skeleton she had buried, and I made sure the truth reached everyone she held close. Her family, her colleagues, the court, one by one, they saw the real Sabrina, and her perfect facade crumbled beneath the weight of her lies. Her allies deserted her. Her support system collapsed. And when she stood alone, grasping for control that no longer existed, I took Thomas. Legally. The judge saw through her fabrications, the inconsistencies unraveling her case thread by thread. Her web of lies collapsed in court, leaving only one verdict: full custody. Mine. She stood there, trembling, her face a portrait of disbelief. Then came the tears, the desperate appeals, the raw, unhinged screams. But I didn't meet her gaze. She wasn't my concern anymore. She was nothing, and I had won. After that, she vanished. No calls, no messages, no retaliation. Weeks passed, then months. But I knew Sabrina. She wasn't the kind to surrender. So when I arrived home late one night to find the front door slightly ajar, I wasn't shocked. I stepped inside, moving with purpose, unhurried. The house was dark, but the air carried a scent I recognized instantly. Perfume. Her perfume. I turned the lock behind me. If she had come here, she wouldn't be leaving the way she entered. A shadow shifted in the hallway. Then a voice, soft, almost pleading. I just wanted to see him. I exhaled slowly, my shoulders rolling back as I flexed my fingers. My voice was steady when I spoke. Thomas isn't here. Silence. And then she stepped forward, into the dim glow of the kitchen light. She was unrecognizable. Sunken cheeks, mascara smeared like old ink, and blonde hair tangled as if it hadn't seen a brush in days. This wasn't the Sabrina who once carried herself with an air of untouchable grace. This was someone unraveling, clinging to the last frayed edges of control. Her fingers trembled around a creased piece of paper. "I wrote him a letter," she whispered, voice thin. "Just let him read it." I didn't move, didn't reach for it. He doesn't need anything from you. Her eyes darkened, sharp and cutting like glass. You took everything from me. I tilted my head slightly. No, Sabrina, you did that to yourself. Her throat bobbed, her lips parting as if to argue. For a moment she almost looked broken. Almost. Then she smiled, and I knew better. This wasn't the end. Sabrina hadn't forced her way into my house just to hand over a letter. This was a test. She wanted to know if she still had a hold on me, if she could push me, force a reaction. But I wasn't the man she once manipulated. She shifted tactics, voice dropping to something fragile. I loved you. I nearly laughed. No, Sabrina. You loved power, and when you lost it, you lost your mind. Her hands clenched at her sides. For the first time, she looked small, like the weight of her own choices had finally crushed her. And then, the truth surfaced. You think this is over? Her voice was a whisper, brittle and sharp. You think taking my son, my life, my name was enough? I met her gaze without wavering. It's over, Sabrina. She shook her head, a bitter smile stretching across her lips. No, baby. Her tongue flicked out to wet her lips, and that's when I saw it. A tiny red light, pulsing. A camera. My eyes flicked to the room's corner. Hidden between the cabinets, the lens barely caught the dim light. I turned back to her. She was watching, waiting, hoping I'd snap, that I'd shove her, grab her, anything she could twist into proof. One final trap. I smiled. You should go, Sabrina. Her face faltered. What? I took a single step forward. Not a threat, just enough to shift the air. You broke in, planted a camera, and thought I'd fall for it. My voice dipped lower. And the best part? You really thought I was stupid enough to play along. Her breath hitched. I leaned in just enough for my words to skim past her ear. You lost. Go home. She went rigid, vibrating with the rage she had no outlet for. She wanted me to break, to give her something to cling to. But I gave her nothing. Her breath hitched, wild eyes searching mine before she turned on her heel and ran. The door slammed behind her. I waited, listening to the silence settle. Then I walked to the cabinet, plucked the tiny device from its hiding spot, and crushed it between my fingers. Checkmate. Sabrina was done. She just didn't know it yet. Her plans had shattered. Her attempt to drag me under, her fight for Thomas, even her pawn, Joseph, had disappeared, too afraid to show his face. But I wasn't naive. A woman like Sabrina didn't vanish quietly. So I stayed ready. My lawyers tracked her every move. Private security watched over Thomas at school. And I waited. A week later, she played her final hand. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I answered, expecting another drunken voicemail. Instead, a cop's voice came through. Mr. Anderson, this is Detective Hernandez with the NYPD. We need you to come down to the station. My gut tightened. Why? A pause. Then, it's about Sabrina. I grabbed my keys and left. The last lie. At the station, they led me into a cold interrogation room. 2 detectives sat across from me, their faces unreadable. One slid a folder across the table. Inside, photographs. Sabrina, bruised, bloodied, cuts along her arms, a split lip, staged injuries. But the accusation? Attempted murder. The walls seemed to shrink in, the silence stretching between us. She claims you broke into her apartment and attacked her, the detective said, his eyes locked onto mine. Says you threatened to kill her. I let out a slow, steady breath. Sabrina's final desperate move. I leaned back. Do you believe her? The detective hesitated. Then the door opened. My lawyer stepped inside. And just like that, the game was over. The final verdict. Sabrina's deception unraveled completely. No evidence, no reliable witnesses. But her biggest misstep? Overlooking the security cameras in her own building. The footage told the real story. It captured everything. Her entering the apartment alone, no forced entry, no struggle, no sign of me anywhere. Just her, meticulously injuring herself, piecing together a fabricated accusation. When the detectives watched the tape, their hands were tied. Sabrina wasn't a victim. She was the culprit. That was the end of it. The last time I saw her was in the courtroom, wrists bound, her expression vacant. The judge recited the charges: false reports, trespassing, attempted fraud. She never turned to look at me, never uttered a word. She didn't need to. She knew she'd lost. And me? I walked out of that courtroom with Thomas beside me. Free. Sabrina was nothing more than a discarded shadow in my past, a lie erased. I never had to think about her again. This story has come to an end. Life will throw people at you who will lie, cheat, and try to destroy everything you've built. But real power is not in how hard you hit back. It's in how you protect what matters most without losing yourself. Sometimes, the greatest victory is refusing to play by their rules. Stand your ground, fight for your truth, but never let hatred define you. In the end, staying true to yourself, your values, and those you love is what makes you truly undefeatable. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend, and if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you. Imagine being married for 20 years, a perfect house, family, stability. Now imagine coming home early one day to find your wife dressed to impress, calmly telling you, "I'm going away for the weekend, with another man." And no, she's not joking. Just one time, "I need this for me." What would you do? Beg her to stay? Pretend it's fine? Or walk away for good? This isn't a made-up story. This is real. A marriage shattered in one night. But what he does next will shock you. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If it's your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, as every like truly inspires me. Please tell me which city and country you watch this video from. Now, let's get started. My name is Kevin Trexler. At the time these events unfolded, my wife Diana and I had been married a little over 2 decades. Our journey together began back in college, where we first crossed paths. Not long after earning our degrees, we decided to get married. Over the years, we built a family with our 2 daughters, Jolynn and Sabrina, who were just a year apart in age. Jolynn had recently embarked on her freshman year at a large state university a couple of hours away, while Sabrina was finishing her last year of high school, still uncertain about where she would continue her education. There was even a possibility that she might join her sister at the same college. Like most siblings, our daughters had their share of disagreements, but beneath the squabbles, there was a strong connection. They always had each other's backs. When Jolynn left for college 6 weeks earlier, the absence left a noticeable emptiness in our home. Both Diana and I felt it. The house seemed too quiet, and while we were proud of Jolynn and excited for this new phase of her life, it didn't take away from the fact that something felt missing. I was a partner at a major accounting firm, while Diana had built a career as a supervisor at a local building supply company. She had gone back to work once the girls were older and had steadily climbed the professional ladder. Although her college degree was in English, she had found real satisfaction in her current job. Financially, we were secure. My earnings were higher than Diana's, but together, we had built a comfortable life. We owned a beautiful home, drove nice cars, and had the kind of stability that many people strive for. Yet having a stable life didn't mean everything was perfect. There was a subtle distance between Diana and me, something unspoken yet persistent, and perhaps it had been growing for longer than we cared to admit. With one daughter off at college and the other wrapped up in high school activities, Diana and I were entering a different stage of our lives. There were no fights or heated arguments, but there was an unmistakable sense of detachment between us, and neither of us seemed ready to confront it. That Friday afternoon, I decided to leave work early, looking forward to an uninterrupted weekend with Diana. Sabrina was away on a school trip until Sunday night, giving us a rare opportunity to focus on each other. I imagined a romantic dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant, followed by a quiet evening at home, just the two of us. Lately, something had felt off, and I hoped that spending time together might help mend whatever had started to shift between us. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed Diana's car was already parked in the garage. That seemed promising. Maybe she had similar plans in mind. Not hearing any sounds from the kitchen, I walked toward our bedroom, assuming she might be getting ready for the evening. As I approached, I called out, "Diana, I'm home. Are you in the bedroom?" Her voice, calm and composed, responded, "Yes, Kevin, I'm here." Stepping inside, I found her sitting at her vanity, meticulously applying her makeup. She was dressed in the elegant black dress I had given her for Christmas, her pearl necklace resting delicately around her neck. Her polished dress shoes sat neatly beside her on the floor. What caught my attention next was the open overnight bag on the bench, half filled with casual clothes and undergarments. I hesitated, feeling a flicker of confusion. "Diana, I didn't realize we had plans this weekend. Did I forget something?" "Where are we going?" I asked, forcing a light tone despite the unease creeping up inside me. She let out a slow breath, as if she had been preparing for this conversation. "Kevin, I didn't tell you because I knew this would be difficult. I have plans this weekend, with someone else." Her voice was steady, too controlled, and for a moment, I questioned whether I had misheard her. I blinked, my brain struggling to catch up with the weight of her words. "What do you mean, someone else?" My chest tightened. Diana turned to face me, her expression unyielding. "I wasn't expecting you home this early. I planned to talk to you just before I left. I knew this would hurt you, and I didn't want to fight." The air in the room felt stifling, suffocating. "A date? With another man? Are you serious?" My voice wavered between disbelief and anger. "Since when do we have an open marriage?" She remained unsettlingly composed. "Kevin, it's just for the weekend. I'll be back Sunday, and everything will go back to normal. Since Jolyn left, I've felt lost. I need this. Something for myself. Something that reminds me I'm still alive." I stared at her, unable to grasp what she was saying. "Stronger? You think this will make our marriage stronger?" My voice cracked under the weight of it all. "How long has this been going on, Diana? Who is he?" She let out a quiet, almost dismissive laugh. "That doesn't matter. I'm not leaving you, Kevin. I love you. I always have. We've had lunch a few times, but nothing more. I haven't been unfaithful to you. And after this weekend, I won't see him again." My head shook involuntarily, my thoughts reeling. "You expect me to just accept this? Pretend this is normal?" She sighed, as if exhausted by my inability to understand. "I knew you wouldn't see it the way I do. But Kevin, he makes me feel wanted, beautiful. He looks at me in a way I haven't felt in years. I'm getting older, and I just need this. For me. Just once." A tidal wave of emotions crashed over me: anger, heartbreak, confusion. She had made her choice, and I had no idea what to do next. Did he just hear that right? Kevin's mind reeled, struggling to make sense of the words that had so effortlessly fallen from Diana's lips. A break from their marriage, just for the weekend. That was what she wanted. The idea struck him harder than any argument they had ever had. "I'll be back by Sunday," she went on, her tone disturbingly casual. "After that, we can focus on fixing things. But I need this, Kevin." Every word felt like a fresh wound. "Please, try to see it from my perspective. It's just intimacy. It's just one weekend compared to all the time we've spent together. It doesn't change anything." Kevin stood frozen, his mind unable to catch up with what was happening. Who was this woman? What had become of the person he had built his life around? The woman he had loved and trusted now looked at him with steady eyes, telling him she needed to betray him, as if it were the most reasonable thing in the world. It wasn't a request. She wasn't looking for permission, nor was she apologetic. She expected him to accept it, to understand, to simply go along with it. "I'm sorry, Kevin," she said, as she methodically packed a bag. "But my mind's made up. I'm leaving." His thoughts blurred together in a storm of disbelief. Was this real? She was speaking as if she were heading off for a weekend getaway, not to be with another man. The weight of her words settled deep in his chest, suffocating. "This is just something I need to do for myself," she explained, her voice light. "It's only for a couple of days. I'll be back Sunday, and then everything will be fine." But Kevin knew that wasn't true. This wasn't just about a fleeting encounter. This was her choosing to disregard everything they had built together. This was betrayal. His hands curled into fists at his sides, his whole body trembling with the effort to hold himself together. Anger, humiliation, and heartbreak crashed over him. It wasn't just that she was leaving, it was the complete indifference in her voice, as if none of it mattered. His throat tightened as he swallowed the pain. How could she do this? But Diana moved with unnerving ease, zipping up her bag, her decision set in stone. Her phone buzzed, and she picked it up immediately, her voice bright and eager as she confirmed her plans with whoever was waiting for her. The sight of it made his blood boil. His heart pounded, his body rigid with the force of holding everything in. He refused to just stand there and let this happen. He wouldn't be a bystander in his own life. As she glanced back at him one last time, there was an almost expectant look in her eyes, like she thought he'd simply accept this, let her go, and wait for her return. "I'll be back Sunday, Kevin," she assured him, her voice as nonchalant as if she were running an errand. "It's just this once. I'll make it up to you. You'll see. We'll move past this." But Kevin already knew there was no going back. Trust had been shattered beyond repair. His mind raced, emotions simmering dangerously beneath the surface. He drew in a slow, measured breath before speaking, his voice unsettlingly calm. "You have until your ride gets here to change your mind." Diana barely reacted. "And if I don't?" His gaze remained steady. "Then I'll make my own plans, but keep your phone on. If I need to find you, I need to know where you are." She didn't even hesitate. She agreed without a second thought, completely oblivious to what was running through his mind. She thought she had him figured out. That was her mistake. The Uber pulled up outside, and without another word, she walked out, leaving Kevin standing there. His fury cooled, settling into something far more controlled, far more resolute. The moment the door closed behind her, he reached for his phone, already knowing what he had to do. His fingers moved swiftly through his contacts until he landed on a name he hadn't thought about in years. Aurora. It had been a long time, but once she had been a significant part of his life. Their connection had always been deep, built on mutual respect, quiet understanding, and something unspoken that had always lingered beneath the surface. He had been there for her in the darkest chapter of her life, after she had lost her husband, Marshall. They had shared something real, but circumstances had kept them apart. Until now. He pressed the call button. The line rang once, twice. Then a familiar, warm voice answered. "Kevin? Wow, it's been ages. How are you?" There was kindness in her tone, a comfort he hadn't realized he needed. He hesitated, then exhaled. "I'm not okay, Aurora," he admitted. "That's why I'm calling." A brief pause. "What happened?" Kevin swallowed hard. "Diana, she's spending the weekend with another man, and she doesn't even care." The silence on the other end was telling. Then, finally, Aurora spoke, her disbelief evident. "What?" Her voice sharpened with emotion. "Are you serious? Diana? I thought you two had a strong marriage. Kevin, what's going on?" He let out a bitter laugh. "I thought so too, but apparently I was wrong. She just told me, like it was nothing, that she needed this, that it's just a weekend, no big deal, no consequences." Aurora's voice was edged with anger now. "Kevin, that's unbelievable. I don't even know what to say. Are you okay? Was he? The question lingered in the air. No, but he was going to do something about it. Kevin let out a heavy breath, uncertainty threading through his words. I can't say I'll be fine, he admitted, but I've made my decision. I refuse to stay in a marriage where this happens. I'm going through with the divorce. And honestly, I just needed to hear your voice. You're the only one I felt like calling. For a moment, Aurora remained silent. Then, she exhaled slowly. Kevin, I hate that you're dealing with this, and I won't pretend it doesn't mean something that you reached out to me. The truth is, I've been thinking about you too. There's always been something between us, hasn't there? But I have to be upfront. I was in a relationship for the past year. It ended a few months ago. She paused, her voice tinged with reflection. There just wasn't a spark. I didn't want to stay with someone just because I was afraid of being alone. But now, hearing this from you, it's making me question things. A faint, bittersweet smile crossed Kevin's face. You don't have to worry about me, Aurora. I just needed someone to talk to. But the truth is, I feel like everything is collapsing around me. Diana left me for someone else, and now I'm here, trying to piece together how it all fell apart. Aurora's voice softened. Kevin, you don't have to go through this by yourself. If you need me, I'm here. You've always meant a lot to me. Maybe this is our chance to finally explore what's always been between us. A warmth spread through Kevin's chest. I'd really like that, Aurora. I would. They talked for a while longer, eventually making plans to meet in person. But first, Kevin had to confront the remnants of his marriage. He didn't know what to expect when Diana returned, but he was ready to face whatever came next. That evening, he took the first definitive step toward closing this chapter of his life. He reached out to his lawyer and initiated the divorce process. It was a decision he refused to back down from. When Diana finally walked through the door, she carried herself as if nothing had changed. Slinging her overnight bag onto the couch, she greeted him with a bright, unaffected smile. Hey, sweetheart, I knew you'd be here waiting for me. See? Everything's the same. I'm still your wife, the same person who left on Friday. She moved toward him casually, her tone almost playful. You love me enough to let me have just one little weekend away, don't you? Kevin stood frozen, his disbelief mounting. Her indifference was staggering. She spoke as if her betrayal hadn't just torn their marriage apart. When he finally found his voice, it was quiet, but firm. Diana, I know exactly what you did. You weren't away on some harmless trip. You spent the weekend with another man. Don't bother denying it. I even know his name. Her smug expression faltered, giving way to sheer shock. How do you know that? She whispered, her voice barely audible. Kevin didn't so much as blink. I didn't have to follow you, Diana. I hired a private investigator. I know everything. Color drained from her face as his words settled in. She stumbled toward the couch, sinking down as if the weight of it all had physically crushed her. You had me followed? She choked out, her voice trembling. Kevin let the silence stretch between them, the finality of the situation settling in. There was nothing left to say. The trust that had once held their marriage together had shattered beyond repair. When he spoke again, his voice was steady and unwavering. There's something else you should know, Diana. I wasn't alone this weekend either. Her eyes widened in disbelief. What do you mean? She asked, barely able to process his words. I was with Aurora, he stated plainly. And this time, it wasn't just reminiscing. It was real. She's the person I should have been with all along. Diana sucked in a sharp breath, his words hitting her like a physical blow. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but nothing came out. The silence between them felt suffocating. Kevin's voice remained resolute as he delivered his final words. I'm filing for divorce, Diana. This marriage is done. You destroyed it, and I have no interest in fixing something that's already broken. Tears welled in her eyes, but it no longer mattered. He had already moved on in the ways that counted. There was no coming back from this. In the days that followed, Kevin focused on closing this chapter of his life for good. He handled the legal process with a sense of closure, ensuring everything was dealt with fairly, but knowing full well that no document could undo the past. Diana would have to live with the consequences of her choices, just as he had accepted his own reality. As for Aurora, they were stepping into something new, a fresh beginning. And for the first time in a long while, Kevin felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be. This story has come to an end. This story is a powerful reminder that trust is the foundation of any relationship. It takes years to build, but only seconds to destroy. Love isn't just about passion or routine. It's about respect, loyalty, and choosing each other every day. When something feels broken, the answer isn't betrayal. It's honest communication. If you feel lost in a relationship, speak up before it's too late. And if someone crosses a line that can't be uncrossed, know your worth and be brave enough to walk away. Sometimes, heartbreak leads us to the life and the love we truly deserve. Never settle for less than respect and real love. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you like this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.